This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network. And joining me right now is Tony Giardini. He is the president and CEO of Trilogy Metals. It's a publicly traded company. The symbol is TMQ on both the TSX and the NYSE American. And you can see Tony give an investor presentation at the upcoming Precious Metals Summit Beaver Creek, a hybrid event this year, happening on September 8th through the 11th. And with that, Tony, thank you so much for joining me today. How are you doing?
Really good, Robert. Nice to talk to you. And as we were talking about, nice to see that background of Beaver Creek. Looking forward to being there in a couple of weeks.
That's for sure. I'm hoping that we get the same weather, right? Because it's gonna be a lot of outdoors.
I'll bring some warm clothing for sure.
Very good. Well, the last time we did an interview with a representative from Trilogy Metals was in 2018. So rather than getting all the highlights in the last 3 years, what would you say are some of the highlights from the company in the last 12 months or so?
Yeah, that's probably a good time period because a lot's happened actually in the last 12 months. I would say the biggest things that have happened are the following. One, back in 2018, we had signed an option agreement with South32, and they had the opportunity to invest $30 million to obtain the option to acquire a 50% interest in our projects, which are in the Ambler Mining District in the great state of Alaska. And so they conducted that exploration program over a 3-year time period, basically 2017, 18, and 19. So we were right in the middle of it the last time we talked to Rick. And last year, once they completed the last portion of drilling, they exercised the option. So we formed a JV with South32. They contributed $145 million into the JV, and we contributed the Ambler mining assets into the JV. So we set up a new company called Ambler Metals based in Anchorage with a separate management team. And that's 50% owned now by ourselves and by South32. So that's been a really big step because now we have a JV company that is, and you know the space, Robert, extremely well funded. It's got about 135 million of 145 left, which is about enough money to fund our programs for the next 4 years. So we're in a really strong position. So that was the first major event that happened over the last year or so. The second one was the road. The key to the Ambler Mining District has really been about the missing link of infrastructure, which is a road that is required to access the district. And that road has been talked about for 40 years in the state of Alaska. And there was a permitting process that was begun a number of years ago. The final permit was issued by the BLM to ADA, which is a state-owned entity. And so that permit paves the way for the road to move forward. And I'll have a little bit more about what that means and what we're doing. And then the third item was we came out with an updated study, a feasibility study on the project. And that feasibility study reaffirmed the excellent economics that we have from the PFS, but went further in really highlighting just where we are in terms of the project dynamics. And just as an overview, the NPV of a project at very conservative metal prices, $3 copper, et cetera, was about $1.1 billion. So we're in a really good position. So those have been the major 3 events that happened in the last 12 months. And then sort of back to business in November, we approved a budget of $27 million. So we're in the field right now doing our drilling. We had hoped to do 14,600 meters of drilling. Weather's been a factor in the state of Alaska this summer, so we might not get all of the drilling that we had hoped, but we're going to extend the field season into September and possibly early October. So that's going forward. And then coming back to the road, we also signed an agreement with ADA to fund or to co-fund up to $70 million to cover the detailed engineering associated with the road development project. So we've been looking to spend about $13 million cumulatively this year. So that's been, a quick summary of the major events that have happened at Trilogy over the last year.
Very good. Thank you for that full update. And I have to ask this question because, like I said, I did an interview with a different member of the Trilogy team back then. I'd love to get your background. How did you come into all this?
Yeah, well, I've only been the president CEO of Trilogy for the last year, since June of last year. But I've actually been on the board since the company was created in 2012. So I've been on the board from the inception of the company. And prior to joining Trilogy, I've obviously been in the mining industry for a number of years. And I started in Vancouver with Placer Dome in the finance side. From there, spent a number of years, 6 years plus, with Ivanhoe Mines, where we were building the Oyu Tolgoi project in Mongolia. Joined Kinross as a CFO for 7 years, based in Toronto, overseeing the global operations, 10 to 11 mines at different points in time. And then once again went back to work for Ivanhoe, but this time a new Ivanhoe based in Africa. And I was there for about a year, just as COVID broke out. And then the opportunity came to come back into Canada and to be part of a Trilogy team, a team that I knew well. And so that's how I ended up at Trilogy. We've got, a really great series of projects up in the Ambler Mining District. And I'm really focused on how do we create value for our shareholders in terms of those projects, and particularly given the focus on green metals, copper, zinc, and other metals, which we have in abundance in the Ambler Mining District.
Very good. Well, Tony, before I let you go, from what you can tell us, what would you say are the main value catalysts for the company now for the rest of 2021 going into 2022?
Well, I think we're going to be coming out with our drill results, which will further underscore just the tremendous potential in the district. But for those that are listening to the or watching this interview, what I would encourage you to do is go to our website, trilogymetals.com, where there's lots of information, presentations, and we talk about Arctic, which is our flagship development asset. It's 43.4 million tons at 4.2% copper equivalent. So it's a very high grade copper asset that's going to get built. It's just a question of how long it's going to take. We've got a great partner in South32, balance sheet's in good shape. So I would say that the catalysts coming forward for us are really going to be the completion of the field program, the drill results that come out from that. We're hoping to start the mine permitting process later this year. That documentation is well advanced, and we're looking at the next step of additional review work that we want to undertake before we kick off the permitting process. We see that mine permitting process taking about 24 to 30 months. So I think that will be a further indication of how serious we are in terms of advancing our project and the district. And then we've got an advanced development exploration project called Bornite, which is 180 million tons, 1.6% copper, which we're hoping to think about and give a bit more color on in terms of how we see that fitting into the ultimate district potential in the future. So those are the main catalysts. And then we'll be approving another budget in November for next year and talking a little bit about the next steps. We're continuing to look at the engineering and study work to really fine tune the development process and put ourselves in a position to commence building once we make an investment decision. So that's quick and dirty of what's going to happen over the next several months, Robert.
Sounds good. Well, Tony, with that, where can our audience go and find more information on Trilogy Metals?
Well, you did a good introduction. You mentioned the ticker symbol TMQ listed on Toronto and New York. And then I would encourage people to come to our website, trilogymetals.com. Lots of information, including our presentations there. And, if anyone's interested in talking a little bit more about those catalysts and what we're looking at doing, I certainly encourage you to reach out to myself or Pat Donnelly, our head of investor relations, where we can provide more information on the company.
Very good. Well, Tony, thank you so much for joining me today. Good luck. Stay safe. And I look forward to our next update.
Yeah, I do too, Robert. Thanks very much for your interest. Look forward to seeing you in Beaver Creek. Take care.
Very, very good. Thank you. Again, my name is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN Network, and we're a proud media sponsor for the upcoming Precious Metal Summit Beaver Creek hybrid event this year, happening September 8th through the 11th. For more information, go to the conference website to register, and thank you for watching.